Hello, dear friends. A wise man once said, "Find your place in the eye of the storm and look for roses along the way, but beware of the thorns." Opinion piece. Pressure cooker. Silent face. New reality. Secret hearings. Decisive moment. New human power. The world will stop. Silence is the signal. Welcome to October. We are the spearhead. US government shutdown. Acceleration of the starseeds. Many things will happen at once. Let's start. A pressure cooker represents a system that supports and contains high internal pressure that gradually increases to a critical point, where energy is released to prevent an explosion. In geopolitics, a pressure cooker is a space where tensions build up and attention is needed to prevent an explosion that could lead to large-scale consequences. Welcome to October, says Sierra. We have reached the critical phase of liberation, where many things will happen at once. It has been predicted for decades. This could cause confusion. You may experience waves of fear or anxiety as you are affected by past wounds or traumas. Get used to not reacting instantly to events or news. Remember, we are all in this together. You are surrounded by your team of guides. You are never alone. Starseed celebration according to Aurora Ray. This month determines your cosmic destiny. October brings the acceleration protocol, which condenses years of spiritual development into weeks. Only 8% of awakened souls are ready for this acceleration. Key dates you need to know. October 13th, activation of Pluto's sovereign power. October 21st, enhancement of Mercury's galactic communication. October 23rd, completion of Scorpio's shadow integration. Decisive moment. Human beings are at the decisive moment, living in the eternal now, where the galactic presence is already part of our shared reality. But official authorities react in an uniform or outdated manner, according to Cliff High. In his view, visitors from the stars are present in our solar system, and their field of interaction is the eternal now, a kind of continuous flow of events and karma that defines our physical existence. Cliff High criticizes the authorities as being trapped in past paradigms, thinking in terms of war and manipulation of matter, without understanding that true influence arises from consciousness and co-creation. Therefore, it invites new human beings to assume the role of active protagonists, a self-organizing collective, where each participant is a leader and trained to interact with visitors from the stars in this new existential stage. Reset News. At midnight on Tuesday, September 30th, 2025, the US government went into lockdown, and the Office of Management and Budget ordered federal agencies to begin implementing their shutdown plans. In the final vote of the day in Congress, Democrats voted to shut down the government agencies. Agencies are suspending operations. Federal employees face furloughs, and mass layoff plans are already in the works. According to Jude Pinkton, the shutdown was a smokescreen for a quiet purge of the cabal and the beginning of the end of its hold on power. It was a strategic operation carried out under the guise of a shutdown. The shutdown is being used strategically to drain the swamp. The following morning, beginning Wednesday, October 1st, the restored sovereign Republic of the United States of America came into effect. It is no longer governed by British Admiralty law, but by the Common Law Sovereignty Code Act. President Trump signed a declaration of authority and subpoena, breaking with British maritime law and returning to the common law sovereignty that is part of the original constitution. Red October is underway, a synchronized operation to recapture the capital, ensure justice, and dismantle corruption. The National Guard surrounded Washington, D.C., and 600 judges were deployed to prepare for a government shutdown. When the fire dollar collapsed, the $5 collapse was anticipated in 2008. The collision ensured that the new gold and asset-backed quantum financial system was active in parallel, testing real-time payments and asset-backed credit backed by gold. More than 91% of SWIFT corridors had been replicated under QFS surveillance, and $112 trillion in legal assets had been seized. Central banks are being algorithmically intervened, and white hat teams are inside the former command rooms of the IMF and the BIS. The old physical apparatus of the Fed and the Internal Revenue Service is being dismantled, while a new 14% tax on new non-essential items is being implemented. The world will stop, but behind that stillness, operations are taking place at a level never before seen in human history. This is not chaos, it is precision. Silence is the signal. This is not a drill. It's time to reset the world. Trust the operations, trust the silence, and above all, trust what comes after the darkness. The world you knew was never real. What comes after is. Every failed transaction, every closed bank, every delayed wire transfer are not mistakes. There are executions of an old world order. You are not waiting for Gisela. You are already in it. Global NGOs are disappearing. Over 7,000 sealed indictments are quietly being activated. IMF and WEF officials are testifying under oath and disappearing from databases. The media will never report this because they are under the same system as you. You won't know when the transmission starts because it has already begun. You are not the audience, you are the protagonist. This is not a test, it is a transition, and those who cannot feel it are not meant to feel it. You were told nothing was happening, but the clock doesn't lie. According to JFK Jr., the pattern is visible to those who observe disappearing flight manifests, codes erasing files overnight, technical mistakes hitting sealed cameras. This is not chaos, it is clockwork. On Wednesday, October 1st in Zurich, bank directors walked out mid-meeting, accounting books were seized, and level 4B channels were compromised. There are secret hearings and digital silence. On Wednesday, October 1st, White Swan operation was launched, according to Julian Assange. This is a multi-phased global takedown. Financial seizures, tribunal preparation, biological weapons interdiction, and psychological operations are being carried out at full scale. The media silence is intentional. The storm has arrived. Ignore mainstream media reports. Trust only reliable sources linked to the QFS. The coalition is made up of 184 generals. Repeat, 184 generals from around the world. This group determines when they will give the green light at level 4B. They said level 4B would be notified to set exchange appointments when there were peace agreements between Russia and Ukraine and Israel and Hamas. Health. According to Mr. Poole, the 23,863 Medbed capsules have been properly delivered and secured. Each device bears a unique serial number and is stored in heavily protected underground bases. These devices cannot be sabotaged, destroyed, or stolen. This is a clear sign that the operation is real, active, and protected. The units are being transported to hospitals gradually. This is the silent phase before the full public rollout. And there is no turning back. The system is ready, according to sources. According to Aerial Proletario 1, the introduction of Medbed technology will not be mentioned as such, so don't look for any announcements calling it that. This is like other advanced and exotic technologies will be adapted through traditional methods in the form of new technologies that some scientists will claim to have discovered, but it was already discovered many time ago. First priority for medical bed appointments will be those who are in critical condition and dying, in an extremely urgent situation. Second priority for appointments are those who have humanitarian projects with burns. All appointment notifications will be sent simultaneously worldwide and will be done through a global number connected to a secure website. Shutdown. They are using the US government shutdown to try to destroy economic progress, but GDP has reached 3.8% and the economy is booming even through the Fed lowers rates. In response to the government's shutdown, President Trump thanks Democrats for providing an unprecedented opportunity to reduce the size of the federal government. Federal courts announced that they can maintain operations until 17th October 2025 with existing resources. The 2025 US federal government shutdown began at midnight on October 1st due to Congress' failure to pass funding legislation for the new fiscal year. This situation, dubbed a shutdown, is the 21st disruption of funding and the 11th government shutdown in modern US history, the third during Donald Trump's presidency. The shutdown affects public services across the country and jeopardizes the economic stability of hundreds of thousands of federal employees and contractors. The federal government shutdown means the temporary paralysis of many public services and the suspension of pay for a large portion of federal employees. The shutdown has halted the activities of many federal agencies and departments, affecting some 800,000 employees who are temporarily suspended, and another 700,000 who must continue working without immediate pay. Employees affected by the shutdown may face unpaid leave, resulting in a significant economic and social impact for themselves and their families. Economy. The globalist system is crumbling. France and the EU countries are in a downward economic spiral. Dalbu 7 warns of economic risk, possible stock market movements, and sell-offs by major investors like Elon Musk, and warns of a potential economic downturn or financial reset in 2026. Rising global debt puts pressure on the old system. Record levels of global debt are pushing nations toward financial fragility, accelerating a restructuring of monetary power and economic dependence. The $20 billion bailout for Argentina would be a sign of panic over de-dollarization. The goal appears to be to ensure Argentina's loyalty to the dollar system and thereby boost demand for treasury assets, according to Sinfu. Americas. Milei suffers 2 new defeats in Congress with the rejection of vetoes. Mexico presents strategy to reduce flooding in the capital. Heavy rains in Mexico City cause flooding and damage homes. Mexican truck drivers will take English courses to obtain a US visa. Ecuador's parliament will evaluate possible abuses by security forces against protesters. Other news. Trump calls Powell an obstructionist and says he's purposefully interfering. Trump told top military officials at Quantico, "We are under invasion from within." A Trump lawyer exposed the Deputy Attorney General for sabotaging investigations of dark-side kingpins. The US will provide intelligence to Ukraine for attacks inside Russia against energy infrastructure facility. Russia wanted that the transfer of Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine would be a declaration of war, according to Sorjaval. Sergei Lavrov noted that any weapons shipment destined for Ukraine would be a legitimate target for Russia. The UN reimposes sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program. Beta grabs some popcorn. Strikes against Iran could resume at any time, or they could not. Colonel Douglas McGregor warns of growing war preparations in the Middle East, despite President Trump's claims of having stopped wars. The 473 Sumut flotilla detainees transferred to a prison in southern Israel. Hundreds of young Moroccans demand social reforms in Rabat. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.